how you doing? Coach Scott here to talk to you about the movement standards for the WOD number 3 called Synchronicity. Now we're only going to go over the standards on this particular video. There'll be another video following this that'll go over the WOD itself on the details on how to make the WOD work, but we're going to talk about the standards. So the first thing is going to be the overhead squat. We have Coach Angela here who is going to demonstrate some of these movements. Alright, so the overhead squat starts with the plate on the ground. Okay, at the count of 3, 2, 1, go at the beginning of the WOD, both team members will pick up the plate, and we're going to go down to a full depth squat. Full depth meaning hip crease down below our knees, and then we're going to stand up all the way with our hip fully extended and our knees extended. Now, as far as our shoulders go, when you squat, go ahead and squat down again, you can bend your arms. That's certainly legal in this particular movement today, but when you stand up, I want both arms completely locked out. So that's arms, shoulders, hips, and knees all completely locked out in this movement. Okay, so an example of a no rep or of a standard that we're not following today would be hip crease not going down below your knees far enough, to just that point. Or when you stand all the way up, your arms are not fully extended or your hips are not fully extended. It's just really important to make sure that your arms are locked out on the upper part and your hips and knees as well. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is the lunge. This is an overhead walking lunge, okay? And the overhead walking lunge is going to begin with one leg going forward and the other knee touching the ground. Very important. Arms do not have to be locked out overhead. You can have the weight overhead. It just cannot touch your shoulder or your head. Okay, good. So let's lunge again, Coach. Forward, down. Again, the knee touches the ground every time on the back, and you stand fully all the way up with your hips extended on the upper part. All right, very good. All right, the next movement we're going to do, we have Coach Linda here. We're going to talk a little bit about the kettlebell swing. Again, kettlebell will start on the ground, and we're going to swing the kettlebell overhead. Standards we are looking for here are kettlebell overhead, covering your ears, arms, hips, shoulders, knees, all locked out. So everything locked out overhead. The kettlebell does not have to be directly inverted vertical, but it does. You do have to have your arms locked out. She's showing an example of a snatch. You can certainly do this as well. All right, example of no reps on this would be hips not fully extended on the swing, okay, or knees bent. That sure looks funny. Arms bent overhead. Okay, so it's just really important that we keep our arms locked out overhead and our hips and shoulders and knees all locked out. Very nice. Next thing will be the goblet squat. Goblet squat, we're going to be using we're going to be using a kettlebell. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Ground to overhead. All right, so we're going to take the plate, ground to overhead. The plate is going to start on the ground, and we're going to take it from the ground and go overhead. When it is overhead, your arms must be locked out, and again, your hips, knees, shoulders, everything must be locked out overhead. And it has to go down and touch the ground again. Every time the plate needs to touch the ground. How you get it from ground to overhead is your call. You want to swing it up there, you want to try to flip it up there, whatever works for you, but it needs to end up at the same position every time. Okay, so examples of no reps here would be when it's up overhead, it is not locked or not hitting the ground on the way down. Kind of funny, but all right, very nice. So you just need to have everything locked out, pretty straightforward up overhead. All right, and the final thing we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to show you the goblet squat. I have both coaches here swinging these, or doing the squats at the same time. How you hold this kettlebell is your choice, okay? But it needs to be on your chest, directly below your chin, all right? And the lift begins with it at that point, and then you squat down to a full depth squat, okay? So it's important that you get down to full depth and then stand all the way back up. Again, hips, knees locked out. Yep. Hip crease below your knees on the lower part of the movement. All right, very nice. Examples of no reps here primarily would be hip crease not going below your knees on your squat, partial depth, or not fully extending on the upper part. Yep, and just doing partial movements. Very nice. All right, guys, so that's it for our standards for the our standards for the Synchronicity WOD.